And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Tomorrow's forecast chart showing low pressure still over the northern Bering Sea here southwest of St. Lawrence Island, continuing to slowly weaken. Remnants of that front with the moisture keeping it cloudy, cooler, and occasionally damp here over the western interior down into Bristol Bay. Some showers up along the western Brooks Range with that weak feature. And a lot more clouds, a lot more showers, especially tomorrow afternoon here, even up north of the Alaska Range into the Tanana Valley. Showers and thunderstorms there along the Alaska Range, and showers and areas of rain down into possibly the Kuskokwim Valley, but especially along and east of the Alaska Range and toward Cook Inlet, and some showers lingering on the North Gulf Coast. Next system pushing moisture into the Panhandle. And for Tuesday, still cloudy and showery for the southeast coast. Next system remaining off the coast until Tuesday night. Cloudy and a little cooler with showers and thunderstorms over the eastern interior. Brooks Range, same thing. Chance of showers, Seward Peninsula. Some of that shower activity getting out to the western Arctic coast. And then a weak front here bringing light rain to the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta and down in toward Bristol Bay. Some of that spreading into at least western Kodiak Island, scattering out to showers behind the front over the Alaska Peninsula and eastern Aleutians. And for the coastal water forecast, we've got southeast winds 30 to 35 knots on the south coast, central coast, southeast 25, east 15 to 20 knot winds for tomorrow there for the north coast. Lynn Canal, southeast at 10, Stevens Passage, south at 10, and southwest winds 30 knots for Clarence Strait with seas up to 8 feet. And for Tuesday, lighter winds now on the south coast from the south to southeast, 15 to 20 knots. East-southeast, 20 knots for the central coast. North coast, east winds at 15 knots. Southeast winds 15 knots for the Clarence Strait area. Stevens Passage, southeast at 10, southeast 15 for Lynn Canal. Prince William Sound, east winds 10 knots for Monday, seas at about 2 feet. North to northeast winds at 10 knots for Cook Inlet with seas 2 to 3 feet. Eastern North Gulf Coast, east winds of 15 knots, turning northeast here down across the Barren Islands at 20 knots and northeast 15 for Kamishak Bay. Outlook for Tuesday, light southwest breeze in the afternoon for Cook Inlet, seas only 2 feet. Light variable winds for the Barren Islands, Kamishak Bay here, the North Gulf Coast. Light variable winds at 10 knots, all those areas with seas 3 to 5 feet. Prince William Sound, light east wind at 10 knots. Kodiak Island, north to northeast winds Monday at 20 knots with seas 6 to 7 feet. And west-southwesterlies at 15 to 20 knots for the Alaska Peninsula. Bristol Bay looking at a southwest wind Monday at 15 knots. And then for the day on Tuesday, Bristol Bay, south winds 15 knots, and west-southwest at 15 to 20 knots for the Alaska Peninsula. Kodiak Island, light variable winds in store for the day Tuesday at 10 knots with 3 to 4 foot seas. Eastern Aleutians, southwest winds 15 to 20 knots, and 15 to 20 knot southwest winds also for Adak and Atka, and the western Aleutians for Monday. Outlook for Tuesday, not much change out here. West-southwest, 15 to 20 knots. Westerlies at 20 knots for Adak, Anatka, Unimak Island, as well as Unalaska Island. Seas running 4 to 6 feet. And for the southwest coast, Monday, south winds 20 knots. Southeast 20 knots for St. Lawrence Island and Norton Sound. Small craft advisories, St. Matthew Island, northern Bering Sea, southwesterlies at 25 knots. Seas just under 10 feet. Southwest at 20 knots for the Pribilof Islands. And for the day Tuesday, St. Paul, St. George, St. Matthew Island, looking at westerly winds at 20 knots. South winds 15 knots here for the southwest coast. Norton Sound, southeast at 15 knots, southeast at 20 with 4 foot seas for St. Lawrence Island. Eastern Beaufort Sea coast, east winds 10 to 20 knots, northeast winds at 20 knots for the central and western coast. Chukchi Sea, east-southeast at 20. And for Tuesday, Chukchi Sea, northeast 10 to 15 knots. Otherwise, small craft advisories for a good portion of the Arctic coast. Northeast winds at 25 knots.